Welcome back to the Everyday Faith Podcast from Eastside with today's Faith-Rooted Principle.
Hey, it's Pastor Finley Cutshaw again, Wednesday, April the 22nd. I want to give a shout out to my son-in-law, Ryan. Happy birthday to you. Hope you have a great day. Today's rooted principle is this: live by purposes rooted in a relationship with God and trust Him with the outcome. Daniel chapter 1, verses 5 through 8 tells us the story of Daniel and his three friends as they were taken as captives to Babylon. Let me read these verses. And the king appointed them a daily provision of the king's meat, and of the wine which he drank, so nourishing them 3 years, that at the end thereof they might stand before the king. Now among these were of the children of Judah Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, unto whom the prince of the eunuchs gave names, for he gave unto Daniel the name Belteshazzar, and to Hananiah of Shadrach, and to Mishael Meshach, and to Azariah Abednego. But Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with the portion of the king's meat, nor with the wine which he drank. Therefore he requested of the prince of the eunuchs that he might not defile himself. Daniel was just a teenager when he and his three friends were taken captive by the Chaldeans under the leadership of Nebuchadnezzar. Their parents were probably killed by Babylonian soldiers, and they were taken to Babylon to live in a totally pagan culture. They were elected to serve the king and would be forced to learn from the wise men of the realm of Babylon. I should say they were selected, not elected, because there was no election, but that's what happened. They were chosen to serve the king. They would have gone through extensive instruction designed to take out of them the Hebrew influence and loyalty to the Hebrew God. They would have been conditioned to follow the Babylonian culture with its gods and its vices. This is why their names were changed. Their Hebrew names were related to God, the God of the Bible. Their Babylonian names were related to the false gods of Babylon. As you probably know, Daniel had a very successful career serving 4 different rulers and 3 governments. He served under Nebuchadnezzar, first of all, then his grandson Belshazzar, and then Darius the Mede during the Medo-Persian Empire, and then later Cyrus the Great. Cyrus was used of God to send the people back to the Promised Land. But Daniel served successfully under all of these leaders and all the different cultures. He didn't embrace their culture. He didn't necessarily resist the change in leadership, but what Daniel did do is he purposed in his heart. Daniel also became one of the most prolific prophets the world has ever known. God revealed to him every earthly empire that would ever exist from the time of Nebuchadnezzar to the future reign of Christ. How did this teenage captive become so greatly used of God? One word: purpose. Daniel lived with purpose. What was his defining purpose that impacted his life? He determined as a young man that he wanted to please God with his life. Therefore, when his reconditioning began in Babylon, he respectfully requested his captors that he would not be required to defile himself by neglecting the Hebrew dietary laws. This may seem small to you, but it set a precedent in his life that led to a tremendous future. I want to ask you a question. Are you living with the purpose to please God? And can I tell you that when we begin compromising that purpose, the next compromise and the next step away from the Lord becomes easier to do. Many of the people that went to Babylon as captives that were Hebrews, raised in a Christian home, or what we would call a Christian home, a home that taught them about God and taught them about God's law and the reason for it, many of those same young people gave in totally and became just a part of that pagan culture there in Babylon, but not Daniel and not his 3 friends. Why? Because of their purpose. And can I encourage you even now, I think especially for young people, serve God with purpose. Regardless of the past, choose now to live with purpose and leave the outcome to God.
Thanks for joining us for today's Rooted Principle right here on the Everyday Faith Podcast. If today's conversation has encouraged you, be sure to share it with someone who might need it, and don't forget to follow and subscribe so you never miss an episode. We'll see you next time right here on the Everyday Faith Podcast.